All right. What's going on, everybody?
How y'all doing?
Alonzo, thanks so much for coming.
Good afternoon, everybody.
You know, we've already made history. Want to know why?
How so?
You're our tallest guest ever at AOL Build.
Nice.
Big hand for that.
Okay, good. I feel honored.
So we have a lot of fun stuff to get to, but let's get through the hard stuff first. How's your bracket doing?
You know, I didn't fill out a bracket. I really didn't. I'm a little biased. My son is a freshman at Georgetown University, and unfortunately, they lost in the second round to Utah. So I never filled out a bracket at all. We don't have like an office pool or something like that. With the Miami Heat, so I don't think we're allowed to do that, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of rules in place with the NBA where we're not able to, talk about, other teams or, that type of stuff. So, no. I've kind of gotten lost in all of that, but I do follow the games, obviously. And I was rooting for Georgetown, unfortunately. They lost, but it's fun to watch. It really is. It's fun to watch Kentucky. It really is, and Calipari is doing a phenomenal job with those players. He really is, and I'm thinking it might end up being a Duke-Kentucky finals. What do you think? I mean, CBS would love it. All right, the ratings would be through the roof, but it's exciting. It's exciting to see young. I mean, these are kids. 18, 19 years old. It's exciting to see these young kids compete at a very high level and play some pretty exciting basketball, where everybody's tuning in. So it's very exciting. And I can appreciate it from a different perspective, because I analyze it differently than the typical fan does.
Right. Well, I was going to say, obviously, you're always going to root for Georgetown, but this year had to have been a little different for you simply because your son is now a player at Georgetown.
Yeah, well, yes, it is, and he's paving his own little way, under my shadow. And I told him, I said, look, there's no pressure, other than the fact that you're walking around with that name on the back of your jersey. Every time you step on the court, somebody's going to kick your ass, all right? So you got to be ready, But he's prepared for the challenge. He really is. He's a good kid. He's smart. He got that from his mother. And he speaks 3 different languages, and he wants to study international business. But his work ethic is what is going to really get him to that professional level that he wants to get to. And he's first one in the gym, the last one to leave.
Well, obviously, that kind of work ethic, is within all these athletes that we're watching in March Madness. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what exactly it takes for an athlete and these coaches to thrive under the big lights of March Madness?
What it takes, first of all, it takes a great deal of preparation. I mean, like anything in life, if you don't prepare, then you're not good at it, And I'm sure each and every one of you all work your butts off, each and every day, getting ready to come in here and do your job, or to do your selective responsibilities. You don't just throw it in the air and just hope that it falls in the right place. You got to put the time in. So ultimately, it takes a great deal of preparation and sacrifice. There's a lot of other things I always tell my son when he was growing up, when he was a kid, I said, look, do what you have to do now so you can do what you want to do later. So it takes a great deal of sacrifice, and you got to do what you have to do in order, for things to be the way you want them to be, So that's what it entails, pretty much. By the way, I'm excited to be here. I really am excited to be in New York. I wish the weather was a little bit better. I'm from Miami. It's about 85 today. So we were walking to the car, and I'm like this, oh, my God, the wind's blowing, But I'm a little spoiled. I've been there 20 years, so thought I'd bring some of this sunshine down here to you, but it didn't help. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of back home, growing up as a little kid, when you think of home, who are some of the role models you had growing up?
Wow. I have had a plethora of role models, and I call them my angels. I really do. These individuals I think about that help contribute to me, to my overall development as a person as well as a professional athlete. I think about my high school coach, who was coached by John B. McClendon, who coached alongside of James Naismith, who was the founder of basketball, the originator of basketball. So I have a connection with James Naismith in some type of way. And then I think about, my parents and, who worked tireless hours, and, I went through foster care as well, and I had to go through that process. So I had a foster mother who was like an angel in my life, who taught me so much about, responsibility and accountability and being a man. And she's a very faith-based person, and taught me so much about that. And as well as, she taught me a lot about the importance of education, and the value of education, because she was a retired school teacher. John Thompson, again, another one.
I was waiting for that one.
Coach, he's another one. He's a father figure for me, and he is what made college the 4 best years of my life. He's what made that. And then, there's Pat Riley. Pat Riley, I see him as somewhat of a mentor, father figure as well. And he coached me for 11 years. And I'm going to tell you, so I've learned so much from him about professionalism and preparation and things of that nature, So I can't really single out one person. There's a lot of people that help contribute to my overall development. I'm very thankful for them. And I'm sure all of us in here, I'm almost sure that we can think of at least 3 to 5 people that we can, we will put up on a pedestal, and they're the reason why we're sitting in the position we're sitting in today,
So a lot of voices in your head, a lot of past experiences with great role models.
Yeah.
Out of all of those things that you learned, right now, if you can go back to the 18-year-old version of yourself, entering freshman year at Georgetown, what would you say to that person?
Be patient. I was in a hurry, man. Let me tell you, when we're young, we're in a hurry. I can't wait to get my license. I can't wait to be legal so I can drink. It's just, we're in a hurry to do everything. I can't wait to move out of the house. I can't wait, And then now, at my age now, I'm like, damn, I wish things would slow down a little bit. All right. So the one thing I would tell, and I tell young people, don't be in a hurry to get older. Don't be in a hurry. Take it all in one day at a time, because your responsibilities are going to increase tremendously as you get older, And another thing is, if I could go back, I would value my education a little bit more. I did enough just to get by, and I knew I could do better. And I had John Thompson call me into his office one day, and he told me, he's like, I see your grades. Yeah, you're passing and everything. You're getting a high C, but you're so much more smarter than what you're giving me right now. So he motivated me again to make the dean's list, and I made the dean's list in the very next semester, but he posed a question to me. He said, what if you had the cure for cancer? He said, you wouldn't even know it because you're not exerting yourself. He said, you could change the way we look at things. You could change mankind, so do not take your education for granted. And also, I tell kids, become a lifetime student. School just doesn't stop once you walk across the stage with that diploma in your hand, Become a full-time student. Always try to take in as much information as you can and continue to prepare yourself for that next stage or that next chapter in your life. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I would be one of the board of trustees at Georgetown University. But as a freshman at Georgetown, it took John Thompson to teach me and help me understand the importance of my education, which positioned me for an invite to the board.
And it's clear that you used basketball as a vehicle to get such a great education.
Yes.
And so many people, millions of people around the world know you as Alonzo, the basketball all-star, Alonzo, the Hall of Famer.
Right.
The guy with the most fun name to, for a PA announcer, right? With
Right.
the ho, right? So many people know you as that way. What kind of father are you?
I'm a great father, I think,
Or what is it like when you're at home with your kids?
I'm not going to say I'm a terrible father. I got 3 great kids. I got one in college. I got a 14-year-old daughter, and I got a 5-year-old son, and I got an 18-year-old son. And
But are you a tough guy at home like you are on the court?
I'm a gentle father. I really am. Let me tell you, part of this Dove for Men Plus Care campaign is based around real strength. And real strength is nurturing. If you asked our fathers and our grandfathers, back in the day, real strength was defined by suck it up, be a man, put some dirt on it, you'll be okay, get over it, that type of mentality. Real strength is defined by nurturing, caring, uplifting, loving. I can't recall enough affection that I received from my father, as opposed to now, I'm a very affectionate father. I mean, I'm grabbing and hugging my kids all the time, and it's just totally different than it used to be, So part of this campaign is to help people understand and define what real strength and masculinity is all about. And, when you think of, some of our most historic leaders in the history of our world, and Mandela, Dr. King, and Gandhi, you think of these individuals and you think of real strength, they define it. They truly do, through their actions, through discipline, through caring, through leadership, through sacrifice, all those particular things, and they help move nations of people. And that's the definition, I think, of strength.
Yeah. I love how you touched upon how masculinity is, a major part that so many people forget is, being sensitive and showing emotion. And I want to take you back to the night that you had your jersey retired by the Miami Heat.
Right.
So I'm sure you've seen the clip, but my favorite part about it.
Please don't show that clip. Right?
But my favorite part about it is
they don't need to see me crying.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. So you start getting a little choked up.
You guys can Google it anyway and YouTube it, whatever you guys do. Yeah, you can do that. You can pull it up.
But not to embarrass you. You got choked up, and then the tears really started falling.
Let me tell you how that all went down. Yeah. So I had a bunch of my friends, high school friends, and just college friends come in town for that. And everybody had wagers before the ceremony. Oh, man, you're going to cry? I was like, are you kidding me? No, I'm fine. I'm not going to cry. So I actually had wagers, I threw money in the pot. And I was good up until the jersey. When I saw the jersey start, literally, they started lifting it up to the rafters. I was like, oh, my God. No. I just felt it coming, But I was strong up until that point, But a part of me, when I saw it going up to the rafters and being the first in Miami Heat franchise history, player in franchise history to have their jersey lifted to the rafters, when I saw the jersey going up, I knew that it was over. And that's why the tears came. Because at first, I always felt like, I can still come back, I can still do this, I can still do it. But when I saw the jersey go up, I was like, wow, it's over. And they just started coming, Right.
But and then when you watch the clip, if you look at your wife, Tracy, the way she's looking at you is just like she's just shaking her head of just like beaming with pride, Right. So I think that's like such a cool moment right. where you could really say, okay, Alonzo Mourning really lives what he preaches, which is great.
And living in what?
In showing that masculinity, it's
I'm not
really
afraid.
About being sensitive and being caring about what you do for a living, caring so much that it brings you to tears. I mean, if that's not passion,
Well, that wasn't my intentions to cry.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I'm just letting you know. I didn't plan it.
You're looking at the script.
Exactly. It was not, but I will tell you this, a very large part of my career was based around toughness and showing that strong side of what my game was all about. A lot of people did not know the nurturing side of Alonzo Mourning. So there was Alonzo Mourning, the basketball player, and there's Alonzo Mourning, the person. And you're having an opportunity really to get to know Alonzo, the person, based on what you've seen over the years and me competing on the court. You know, I look at some of those clips. I was like, who is that guy? You know, I was kind of nuts. And I had to be to play at the level that I played, you know, and I was a shorter center. So I always felt like I was at a disadvantage because I was giving up inches. So, and, you know, I was giving up weight as well. You know, a lot of guys I was guarding were a lot bigger than I was, you know, but I took a lot of pride in preparing myself and outworking those opponents and being a lot physically stronger than them, you know. But I have a tremendous nurturing side that's developed through the contribution of others. And, you know, I would not be here without people that took the time to nurture me, to give to me, to uplift me. And that is a true sign of strength, you know, and I'd be doing them a disservice is that if I did not portray that as well.
So all those people in your support system, and you talk about all the strength that you had, your strength was really tested, not so much on the basketball court, but off it. And I want you to take me back to when you found out that you had a life-threatening injury and how that played a part in your life and how because of that, and you've overcome that, do you look at your family differently because of that and how they've supported you?
You know what? Being diagnosed with a life-threatening illness is probably one of the most humbling scenarios that you could ever face. And especially when you're at a stage in your life when everything is going unbelievably well. And I just come from Australia winning a gold medal with the Olympic team. I just, you know, come off an amazing MVP season. I was runner-up MVP. It was first team All-NBA. I mean, the list goes on with the accolades I was receiving, and then all of a sudden the routine physical, I found out I got a life-threatening kidney disease. And my doctors tell me I'm going to need a transplant within 10 to 12 months. And I was fortunate enough to have the right resources and doctors to help me prolong the process, and I didn't need the transplant until 2003. You know, a lot of people looking at me now like, wow, you had a transplant. Wow, you look amazing. You look like you can still play, you know. Well, you know, I became an active participant in taking care of my body and not sitting back and waiting for somebody else to do it for me, you know. So I educated myself like on anything, but I had that support group that you talked about. My family was there nurturing, caring, uplifting me in so many different ways, you know. And I gained strength in that and overcoming. And I'm going to tell you, I gained strength in dealing with other people's obstacles, physical obstacles as well. I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was in the hospital, I was laying in the hospital bed, and I had IV in left arm, IV in right arm, so I had wires sticking there, heart monitors on, I had wires sticking here, I had a catheter in, I had all these wires hanging from me, and I'm laying in the room, and the doctor comes in the day after the transplant, and he tells me, you got to get up. And I look at him like he's crazy. I was like, do you realize what you did to me yesterday? I got to get up. He's like, no, you got to get up and start walking around. This is the part of the process. So I get up. I'm taking these small baby steps. And he's like, I don't care how fast you move, but you got to get up and move. You got to develop your circulation. You just can't lay around and take medicines. You know, I want to get you out of the hospital. So I started to walk, and I got the nurses, and I got my mom, my wife, and I'm walking with them around this transplant ward, and I'm telling everybody to stay away from this catheter because I had this catheter hanging. Don't trip over this wire, please. Stay away. So as I'm walking, I'm turning and I'm looking in the different rooms, and as I pass one room, I see this kid. And the kid looks at me. Kid turns his head. He looks at me, and I saw the biggest smile on his face. So I keep walking, and I meet other people, double lung transplant, heart transplant, what have you, and I keep walking. So I get back to my room. I lay down. I was exhausted just on that little bit of walk that I took. And all of a sudden, I get a knock at the door, and it's this woman. She was like, I'm sorry to bother you, but, I said, no problem. I said, what's up? And she's like, well, I just want to thank you. I was like, well, thank me for what? And I said, what did I do? And she was like, well, I want to thank you for putting a smile on my son's face. He hadn't smiled in months. He had a heart transplant and a kidney transplant. And the kid was just 14 years old. So I thought about that, and there was times when I kind of felt sorry for myself, that why did I get myself in this situation, from that perspective, leading up to the transplant. But I had a moment that day when everybody was out of the room and I laid in the bed and I said to myself, wow, there's a whole lot of people that has it a lot worse than I do. And regardless of what the scenario is, people are connected to each other in so many different ways. Whether we know it or not, we're connected to each other in so many different ways. And that we can find strength from one another's experiences. And this kid smiled just as I walked past his room, and it just let me know, that it wasn't about me. It was about what I could do to help other people. Then I realized why I was in that hospital, and for the reasons that were much, much bigger than me. And, I had a conversation with God. I said, you know what, God, if you can just give me my strength back again like I had it, I'm going to use this opportunity to help change lives. And through that, I've been able to inspire, empower so many people through my story. After overcoming a kidney transplant and getting back on the court and playing the game of basketball at a very high level again, and then winning a world championship, I received emails, letters, thousands, by the thousands. I was able to raise a couple of $1 million towards kidney research at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, and Amanda, my assistant, she was a part of that whole process and connected with other individuals who had young kids that was battling kidney ailments and had transplants and what have you, and I've been able to affect their lives in so many different ways. So I was strong enough to get out of that hospital in 5 days. And after getting out of that hospital and going home in 5 days, understanding there was people in there for months. But I was back on the court within 9 months playing the game of basketball again and to win a world championship, and I wear this ring proudly. And on top of that, understanding that there's still people out there that's inspired that, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. So that gives me strength.
That's amazing. So real quick before we're going to open it up to the audience,
Yeah.
At what moments today
Yep.
do you feel strongest?
I feel strongest when I'm around my family, when I'm around my kids. I really do, because of the love that we have for one another. And, because I travel so much, because I'm so busy, obviously to get all three of them together is a special moment. We make it a point every summer to go away for 2 weeks. We rent a house in Martha's Vineyard, and we spend that time together, So those moments like that gives me strength.
That's awesome. All right, do we have any questions from the audience? Up front.
You mentioned John Thompson and Pat Riley's two big influences, to you and mentors. So I was wondering if you'd compare them, some of their similarities and differences, and sort of the impact that they had on you.
That's a great question. Both of them are very similar in so many different ways. They're both defensive-oriented coaches. They're both very demanding coaches, extremely demanding, and they are both advocates of preparation. They don't want their teams to be lacking in the department of not being ready. So they will work you till your tongue falls out, just so that the games are a lot easier for you. So by the fourth quarter, they want to make sure that you still got a lot left in the tank than your opponent does. Now it's kind of difficult. It really is, some players is kind of sensitive because, you can't work them as hard because they'll break down. It's just a totally different element now. But they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Time for one more.
Hey, Alonzo.
Hey, how you doing, man?
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the time in the NCAA tournament when you played Princeton. I wanted to know what was going on in your mind throughout that game, and if you had lost, would that have been the worst loss of your playing career?
It would have been the worst loss of my collegiate career. Yes. What was going through my mind, we cannot lose this game. That was what was going. We cannot lose the game. And then I'm going to tell you, that was my very first NCAA March Madness game of my collegiate career, And so I didn't know what to expect. I figured, okay, I'm watching the demeanor of the upperclassmen on my team, and we were number 1 seed, we had a great team. We blew through the Big East, won the Big East tournament, all of that. We were everything, and we were riding high. And so I looked at, the upperclassmen on the team, and I said, oh, these guys are relaxed and comfortable. I'm assuming that we're expecting to blow these guys out. So when we started the game, they proceeded to pick us apart, piece by piece. They were like surgeons out there. They were. The passes were on point, the cuts, the spacing, everything. And it's a testament to Coach Carrill and how he coached his team, a very disciplined team. But look up, halftime, we were down by 8 or 10 points. So I came out in the second half, and I made a concerted effort to just dominate because I knew I had about 3 or 4 fouls to use up, so I was good to go. And we had to exert a lot of energy for us to win that game. It came down to the last play when I got the block shot, and it's argued that I fouled the guy, which I disagree. But I tell you, I developed a tremendous amount of respect for the Princeton and Pete Carrill, but also it taught me to never judge a book by its cover, and that's a true statement. You always prepare for your opponent, and you show respect. You show respect by preparing and dominating them. That's how you show respect.
We have one more? No? All right, NBA
Easy
Hall
crowd,
of Famer.
easy crowd. I like that. Yeah,
Alonzo Mourning, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, guys, it's a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
be here. Thank you so much. Thank you.